Hi there, Serial Trader here. So I just want to do a fairly quick update here on Bitcoin, BTC. So I want to look at the weekly chart just to give us some larger time frame context of where I think we're at. And right now we're in log scale because on this time frame, obviously the percentage changes have been so large that not being in log scale, it just looks a little too wonky, right? So stick with me here in log scale for now. Now we had this obviously major bottom there in 2018 at 3215.2 on the Bitfinex chart. Then we had this initial wave one up into the June high of 2019. And then we had this big deep wave two down into the March 2020 low. Okay. So that's a nice one up, two down. And then clearly we're in a third wave up to the upside. This is a very clear wave count on this time frame. A third wave, I mean, it's indistinguishable. It should just jump right out at you on the chart, and this certainly does. Near vertical third wave. So that's what we're working with here. Now, within this third wave, though, and remember, eventually a third wave will end, and you'll get the fourth wave, and that'll probably be our next large time frame or large degree corrective phase here. I think we got something like this: 1, 2, maybe this is our 3 of 3. This was our 4, and we're working 5 of 3. I'm not overly confident counting the subwaves of wave 3 because I mean this thing can just keep subdividing and extending and extending and extending, and it's already been doing that to a certain degree. But I think you can make the case that we're in a pretty mature looking 5-wave sequence up in this larger wave 3. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to need the wave 4 to match up with this wave 2 whenever this wave 3 ends. So it'll be a substantial period of consolidation in both time and price once it gets going there. So I know Bitcoin's super bullish and everyone feels great about it right now, and they should, but there will be larger degree corrective periods, and I think we might be getting close to one. Again, no confirmation of any kind of the downside yet, but I just think anticipating this is the prudent thing to do here. Okay, so that being said, let's go to the daily chart, and I think on this time frame I can get out a log scale. So on the daily chart, I think we're working. So if we just look at this most recent, reasonably large corrective pattern we had here. So I mean, what was that? 21st of January to the 8th of January, and we bottomed out on the 22nd of January. So at least a couple 3-week consolidation period. So looking at that, we can base some upward targets just off of the correction itself there. And we'll do our fib extension targets. So of course the 1.382, and I think I did this in a prior video a few weeks back there. 1.32 was around 47K, so that was kind of like the first target. We hit that. Second target was the 2 multiple, and that was around 55K, so we've exceeded that. So far we've gone as high as 58 and change. So if we're gonna like go third target using this basic extension mindset, which works pretty well. I mean, if we make third target, that's like near 68K. I kind of doubt we'll. I hate to say, I kind of doubt we'll get there because Bitcoin has a way of just smashing all expectations in both directions. Remember, when it corrects, it can be real nasty, nastier than most can even imagine, right? But I currently am doubtful we make the 68K before we have some sort of larger consolidation. So to me, we've just kind of exceeded second target. Maybe we've topped out there in the 58s. Certainly no confirmation to suggest we have, but definitely possible. I mean, if we even just look at an hourly chart. Okay, so we're getting some bearish divergences here. So obviously we made some higher highs in price, lower highs in RSI. So that's a feature of a top. It doesn't mean it is the top, but it's at least something you'd want to see in a topping situation. So we got some hourly RSI divergence. 4 hour, same thing, higher highs in price in the 4 hour, lower highs in RSI. So again, preconditions to a top. And then daily, you can see obviously higher highs in price and yet lower highs in RSI. Okay, So divergences on multiple time frames, even weekly. Let's go into our log scale again on weekly, but weekly, so we had this high in RSI, which was extraordinary, almost 95. We closed that week at 94.81. And now we've made a new high in price, but a lower high in weekly RSI. So basically every time frame I look at, we have RSI divergence. We have a very mature looking 5-wave sequence on the weekly and the daily off of our most recent corrective low. You can easily get a 5-wave sequence out of this. Of course, you can keep extending, and there's no real clear 5-wave move down that takes out multiple prior supports to suggest that we have any kind of top in place yet. But I think we might be getting close to it, if not already there. I mean, this on the 15-minute here. I mean, 15-minute, who cares, right? The Bitcoin 15-minute price chart. But looks like we have some sort of downtrend establishing. Looks like the bounces are in 3 waves. So maybe we got something impulsive or more substantial to the downside beginning. But again, no real confidence as of yet. But I just thought I'd point that out. Basically, my major message here is if you're long, great. You can keep trying to ride it, although I'd run a stop reasonably below where you're at. And actually, one thing I'm doing myself is the 8-period exponential moving average here. So every day when a daily bar closes, this thing gets closer to the current price, so like it catches up, right? But currently, the 8-period exponential moving average is at 53.6 and change. So let's just say it's over 53. So I would have my stop. Well, I do have my stop here on one of the exchanges at 53. So that gives it a little bit of room for it to just kind of have a brief violation of the EMA without actually breaking down. And you can see, since we came out of our latest correction, once we got going, this 8-period EMA has basically held this trend quite nicely to the upside. So that's why I'm using it as kind of a trailing stop here. And still in, but ready to get taken out here anytime. May have a top there in the 58s. Again, too early to tell, but I think some caution here is pretty justified. And the big message is, hey, you know what? When this big wave 3 ends, which it may be close to doing, or possibly has done, again, no evidence to suggest it, but it would actually be quite nice and coincidental with the overall market if that rolls over and we have kind of a risk-off environment, at least for a period of time. That would certainly make sense that Bitcoin also suffers some corrective action during a risk-off environment. So just keep that in mind. And we certainly saw that in March of 2020. Everything was tanking, and Bitcoin was not spared. I think there was like one day where it went down basically 50% in a single day or something, and I think that was pretty much the bottom or near it. But just keep in mind, when we're done the big 3, there's a big wave 4 coming, and a lot of people probably aren't expecting that. All this to the moon, it's going up to 1 million. Even if it goes up to 1 million eventually, we're going to have some serious corrections along the way. Anyone that thinks we're not is just, I don't know, overly optimistic in my opinion. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to go through here on Bitcoin. And again, maybe starting a little bit of a pullback here on the shorter time frame. Could that develop into something larger? I'm certainly watching. But still currently staying in here using that 8-period daily EMA as a trailing stop level. All right, Serial Trader signing off.